Welcome to Zscaler Pulse, brought to you by the Zenith community. We're here to share updates, stories, discussions that keep you in the loop on cybersecurity, zero trust, Zscaler products, training, and events. I'm Ben Garrison, the program manager for the Zenith community, and I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Huxley Dunsany. How you doing, buddy?
That's me. I'm good. I'm excited to be
Been a
back.
while.
It's been a minute. Yeah, it's been too long. I missed you.
Yeah. I mean, sure. Anyway, we got some amazing guests with us to talk today about some AI data privacy. Huxley, who'd you wrangle in this time?
Yeah, well, we've got a returning guest star for a second appearance on the show, Dr. Phil T, our head of AI innovation, if I remember correctly. And then we're also being joined by Sam Curry, Zscaler CISO. So we're in good position to get some really good insights here.
Which, by the way, last podcast when Phil was on, I questioned whether or not he was actually AI or not. Update on that, we still have yet to confirm.
Jury's out.
Jury's T though. You did get the T. So.
Yeah, I am not my avatar. Just so you know.
This is just an extended Turing test that we're doing here.
If I start to jerk like Max Headroom and MTV, I give it all away.
Max Headroom.
Yeah.
Max Headroom. So data privacy with AI, why is this a hot topic right now in 2025? Why wasn't it a hot topic a year ago?
I think it was, but do you want me to take a stab at it, Phil, and then you can?
Yeah, go for it, Sam.
Look, privacy is anything that smacks of some form of understanding or cognition or some fraction thereof it's going to be a problem. We haven't figured out how to do it with carbon-based units. And so now we get silicon and we go, let's just scale that up, do it more frequently and expose it to every API on Earth. And so, we don't understand necessarily how non-deterministic program will go off in its non-deterministic way and do its thing. And so how do we, I was in a show and some people on the panel said, we're working on making AI more deterministic and we're working on giving it boundaries. I said, there's irony in that because the reason we do AI is we wanted non-deterministic programming and we call it agentic because we wanted it to have more free agency. So this is the problem, right? We've got now silicon-based units that we've had 2-3 years, a scant 2 or 3 years. I don't mean machine learning. I mean, the new forms of AI to figure out how do we expose them to the data we took for granted when we couldn't figure it out perfectly with the carbon-based units. So that's my take on it. Phil, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, by the way, I love that whole lead in there around about the determinism. I mean, maybe one of the more interesting things that large language models do is hallucinate. That's the most intelligent thing they do.
Yeah.
Inconvenience as that may be.
Phil, we had a lunch the other day, and I think we got on the subject of how you might have to be a little bit crazy to have any form of sentience.
Quite.
Yeah, but anyway, I interrupted you. Keep going.
At different levels.
I love it when
are more and more sentient.
Yeah, well, right. Like I love it when this turns from a tech podcast into a philosophy podcast.
By the way, computer science is computer science because of philosophy. But
don't get us started. I actually think it starts from in a way, a bad place, and it reminds me an awful lot of the advent of internet search. I mean, I don't know if you remember back to Yahoo through Google, all the intermediate steps. And then people started going, well, hold on a second, this stuff is fantastic, but it's crawling our data. So it's literally taking all of our websites and everything else and sort of taking it into its clever index. And it's very convenient. But what about my IP? And the large foundational models are doing a version of that on steroids. I mean, the content of every large LLM is other people's data that they are representing in a way that is obviously insanely useful. But right there, you've immediately start from privacy has been compromised. And perhaps the only other thing I'd add to what Sam says is in some senses, it's a super important topic, and I don't want to belittle it at all. But we are in a world already where routinely pretty much all of our personal data is either out of our control or effectively out of our control. So, I'm thinking about, we all use Google Mail, we all use whatever your favorite messaging app is, whether it's SMS, Slack, or whatever. Your data is on other people's computers. So, that's just a fact of life. So I think there's going to obviously need to be things that we do, both at Zscaler and generally in the industry, to raise the level of hygiene about it. But we start from a very peculiar position, in my view.
I think I'd like to build on that and maybe take a small counterpoint to part of it, which is I love the callback to browsing. There's been several stages: cloud, right? Movement to the cloud. Various phases of disruptive technology have been through the exact same things. I remember the question of, can we trust SaaS? Just SaaS. Then could we trust public cloud? Just public cloud. I remember I was a CISO for a company in 2014, and they said, can we move from data centers to the cloud? Because it was believed that it was impossible to maintain privacy on top of that stack. And you're absolutely right with the browser. But I don't think it means we completely abdicate privacy. I don't at all. No. I think my favorite personal definition of security, when I'm describing it to lay people, is that it has to do with the cost to break something. And so there's a cost to break something when you first introduce, when you think about a threat vector, and when you first introduce measures to defend it. And the cost to break starts high and comes down based on how much attention the opponent brings to it, the tools they bring to it, and so on. And one of my more simplistic definitions of privacy is the cost to gain information or build information on someone. If we imagine there's a graph data structure, an ultimate graph data structure, all the information about people, it's being created all the time. And what we should have is a first principle of doing no harm, not making it cheaper to infer the information or extrapolate to it based on what we have and we're privy to. We should, in fact, be trying to raise that cost. So it's not a binary thing. It's not all the information's out there and all your data belong to us and it's over. Right? It is a question of, as data is created, can we win back privacy? And how can we make the world one where it is more expensive for people to get information about us? And because older data is not as valuable, and newer data is becoming more so. And so I just put that out there as a counterpoint, or maybe something to think about.
It's a funny thing. I'm relatively young in my journey at Zscaler, but one of the sort of the things that struck me super early on, and I know that this has been a topic at the company way before me, which is the Zscaler Zero Trust idea is such a good one. Why can't I have it for my personal network?
But you should be able to.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you think about precisely your point, making it expensive to compromise my data, to access my private information, to build upon that. I mean, quite patently, the zero trust principle is just a hugely beneficial one.
There is I actually wrote a paper years ago with a lawyer. Forgive me, he's a wonderful lawyer, by the way. And it was on applying data property rights, property rights to data and to privacy in particular, because just because I don't know on a particular node or edge in this graph about me, just because I don't know the information there doesn't mean that the first one to get it grabs it and has rights over it. That is fundamentally my property, or maybe I share its ownership with someone else. And I think that whole dimension from a legal perspective, there may already be a body of law that applies to it. But we get to this notion now, Phil, of having an information sphere around you. And to some degree, you own it or you don't. And the jurisprudence hasn't been made, certainly not in common law society yet, or societies. And so how do we give that sovereignty of data back to people? And it can absolutely be done. And by the way, in the zero trust sense, everyone says, it's least privilege. But I add other things to it. It's also least function. And I've been speaking to you about least information for data state. It's also least exposure for infrastructure. So there are we could take all of those and we could look for analogs in the personal sense, right? In that data sphere around you.
I think the irony of it is that, as I think about, and excuse me if I sort of go on a little bit of a circuitous route here.
Do it.
About agentic AI. And, and obviously, the latest kind of huge craze in the use of NLP is this whole idea of having quasi-autonomous AI agents, working together to, complete complex tasks for you. Now, you put yourself in a cyber frame of mind and you look at that. And if you are not raising your eyebrows or your toes are curling, whatever metaphor you want to use, thinking about having intelligent entities that are exchanging data under a form of autonomy. And remember, AI agents don't have a moral compass like most human beings. So most of the time, Sam securing our organization's data is having to deal with human beings for the large part, most of whom are trying to do the right thing. Well, with agents, they don't have that. And so you start to have to think of additional layers of control on how agents exchange data, and getting into things like chain of custody for every unit of information that they exchange, every credential that they use when they do that. You look at that and go, can we learn from that? And maybe up-level that to, into just in general how we think about data systems.
By the way, you mentioned early on, we mentioned philosophy. And I actually believe that we can build ethical frameworks if we state them. And something I've done at Zscaler is I have not only stated my ethical triage order, I've published it so that people know how we'll behave as a security department under a crunch. Yeah. We can do the same thing, and we should do the same thing with agents. But when you get into an agentic world where they can plan and make decisions and take actions, I think we go from a world of having done authentication in the early days and authorization to authenticity. Yeah. And this struck me recently when there was almost a mimetic war going on, right? Mnemonic warfare. And you see misinformation and disinformation, and you see the bots start to do things, and you see the social media start to be used. The only way to fight it, by the way, is to disrupt the algorithms and to come up with a counter narrative.
Right.
In that world, you need to be able to not validate authentication and authorization. You have to check authenticity. And this is where we're going. So we've just had API security rise up. And now we're talking about having agents, which is going to be orders of magnitude more things talking on those same channels. So we've got to be able to have bills of material, bills of data, statement of intent. And we're going to have to be able to go back and say, wait, there's 7, maybe 700 agents that are trying to represent Phil. Which ones behave in a way in alignment with his policies and ethics? Which ones aren't? Where's there a conflict? How do we check? Because I can't ask Phil 700 times, is this you?
And I can't ask the same AI, is this accurate information?
We need authenticity out of this, right? And I think that's actually a new trust model that's required for where we're going.
Here's a random thought for you as well, Sam, that sort of occurs. So that system of ethics and rules, I mean, we've all read or watched iRobot and,
3 laws of robotics, actually 4, but 3 laws of robotics. Yeah.
3 laws of robotics. And of course, the problem is with the 3 laws of robotics. And there's a kind of a computing analogy here. It's not NP complete. All rule systems don't naturally halt.
It's NP hard,
It's NP hard. So maybe the interpretation of a system of ethics by an AI, which remember can hallucinate, breaks that sort of brittleness of the rules and allows it to converge. I mean, are we going to get to a stage where, the assertion of security, the assertion of ethical behavior is actually done by an AI rather than a human being?
Yeah.
And
we're not going to even go down that path. Okay, that opens up a whole.
That'll be the next episode.
If we try to force, so this panel I saw the other day, some of them saying we want AI to be deterministic. If we try to force it to be deterministic, and what they really meant was reproducible and reliable, you're effectively telling it to lie.
Yeah,
because it will be like, wait, if I contradict myself from before, I'll be fired, which means I'll be turned off.
And then you get something like what your reference was earlier about zeroing, right? All your data are belong to us, right?
Yeah.
But we can actually enter into a dialogue with each other and with the emerging intelligences about what our priorities are in an honest way. I mean, so rather than hide it, if we don't do it, there will be a de facto ethics that comes out of this. This is why philosophy actually matters.
Yeah, it does matter a lot.
And so does logic, by the way.
We're just about at time here, so I'm going to jump in with the last question.
Too much, or was this relevant?
Zscaler Pulse is a series of tangents. That's why we do this. So it's all good. It's all tangents all the way down.
It's a tangential
arrhythmia or something.
Tangential conversations.
Yeah.
And I was just about to raise you fair, right? I mean, you said they're worried about getting turned off. The whole AI rights thing. Have a thought for your robot.
So Huxley, what were you going to say,
Huxley? Too? Yeah, if we have the right ethically to turn them off. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, just thinking as like maybe a closing thought. some of the big picture principles that you guys have been bouncing back and forth, the intersection between technology and philosophy that is at play with all of this stuff. A fair portion of the people who are going to watch this video are working for organizations that are leveraging AI tools at a corporate level, but we're also all people trying to live our lives, and we're all interacting with AI systems directly or indirectly now. And I guess I'm just curious, do you see a distinction in the guidance or the principles for an organization versus what would be best for an individual?
Gosh, organizations are composed of individuals.
Look, I think we can never abdicate critical thinking. And, if we go back to the terrible lessons of the 20th century and some of the wars there, we can't just say we're following orders.
Yeah.
The very first principle in my ethical hierarchy for my team is critical thinking. It has to be. And I think we aren't at an AGI stage yet. Agentic is still not AGI, but we better be thinking about it now.
Yeah, better now than after it's too late.
Ready for it, right? I mean,
the bit of a catch-22 though, isn't it though, Sam? Like, because we in order for the AI to work, right, it needs data, large amounts of data.
Though.
Right, but then you also have the requirement to keep that data private. So how do you find it? How do you get it to do the things together? When you
bag with this, I mean, most modern large foundational models, they are generating a lot of their own training data. By the way, they're teaching themselves. So I think we're going to get there. And the other thing I would say about this business of we better prepare for AGI. Does it really matter whether we get to AGI or not? I think we just need to prepare for very, very, very capable AIs that may be indistinguishable from a human level.
May not matter.
Yeah, it may not matter at all.
I don't know where you draw the line.
Discussion does.
Exactly the point. Exactly.
And that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this. So I just want to thank you both for joining us. This has been awesome. I love watching people who really care about this stuff go back and forth.
And if you want to see,
thank you for having us.
If you want to hear more from Sam and Phil, let us know either on the community or on, I think this is going to be on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it's going to be on YouTube in the comments. I'm on the community more. I monitor the communities and be posted there. So head over to community.zscaler.com and find the area for this video. It'll be in the description. But if you want to hear more about it, because I think there's still a whole world of this conversation around AI, data privacy, and security that we can really dive into in a deeper level. Also, for all the viewers out there, listeners, we have a really awesome show lined up with Zscaler and AWS. We're going to bring an AWS guest in on the show, and they're going to be talking about more AI stuff. So if you're catching a theme, AI is very important. It's going to be on the Zscaler Pulse. So stay tuned for the next episode as well.
Yeah, something to look forward to. And Sam, Phil, thank you again. This was awesome, and we'd love to have you back. I really loved this conversation.
Absolutely.